John and Venezia with RotoWire. We're talking 5-player props for week 1. Let's start down in the ATL. I'm going with the rookie Emeka Egbuka, little double dip action, anytime tutty at plus 195. Originally, I wanted to go with Mike Evans, and I still think Mike Evans is a solid pick for sure. Scored 2 touchdowns in Atlanta last year on that Thursday night game. But Egbuka slotting in as the wide receiver 2 with Chris Godwin still working his way back. We know these two can get into a shootout, these two teams, Atlanta and Tampa Bay. It's going to be a heavyweight NFC South type of fight. But Egbuka on a probably pretty solidly pass-heavy offense is going against an Atlanta defense that allowed the most touchdowns to wide receivers last year. I feel like Egbuka is going to get a lot of favorable looks with Mike Evans drawing so much attention and Baker Mayfield just being able to put the ball wherever he wants. So getting near 2-1 on the rookie to score a touchdown in this first game, I think is a pretty solid play. I think both Evans and Egbuka, for what it's worth, could get it into the end zone here on Sunday. Next, we're going to go with his over yards, 57.5. Atlanta allowed the 11th most wide receiver yards last year. The 57.5 is a minus 114. Same sort of sentiment. I feel like Egbuka, big playability, is going to be able to get a lot of favorable looks. And I think what Tampa Bay is going to do is line him up all over the field. And with Evans just still being able to draw so much attention, you got Bucky Irving in the run game. It's a pretty solid look for this kid to have a breakout in his first career game. We know Atlanta likes to allow breakout performances to certain players. Next up, let's go with Chuba Hubbard. Carolina against Jacksonville, week 1. Carolina had a great finish to 2024. I think in order for them to look on building that, they realized that their offense, despite the improvements from Bryce Young, despite drafting Ted McMillan, is going to run their offense through the run game of Chuba Hubbard. 60.5 rush yards, minus 113. Jacksonville allowed the 9th most yards to running backs last year. I think this is a fair number. I'm pretty high on Hubbard. If you've been following along with any of my fantasy videos, you know exactly what I'm looking for from him this year. I think it's a little light here. Jacksonville, I know there's a lot of hype surrounding what is Liam Cohen going to do with Trevor Lawrence and this offense, but ultimately, I still think Jacksonville's defense has some stuff to prove here, and Hubbard should be able to get somewhere between 15 and 20 carries, and it wouldn't be surprising, considering his efficiency last year, to be getting about 70 to 80 plus yards in week 1. Next up, let's go with the King. Sunday Night Football here. Derrick Henry, 82.5 yards. Number looks a little light in my opinion. The one concern I have is, what is Henry's workload going to look like this year? Still expecting a lot of carries, but maybe some regression from last year because Baltimore's looking to conserve him throughout the year. But in a matchup like this that can ultimately determine the 1 seed, I feel like the King is going to eat in this one. 82.5 is a little light. He hit this in the playoff game and in the regular season last year against Buffalo, where he went for $1.99 on 24 carries. So really, as long as Derrick Henry gets his touches, I think he is going to be able to come close at the bare minimum to eclipsing that century yard mark. And really, that's what it all comes down to. But if Baltimore can learn from their mistakes, something they didn't really do enough of was give the ball to Henry in that playoff game. And I think ultimately that's one of the reasons why they lost. I feel like they're going to feed him the rock, especially in the second half. He is notoriously a second half runner when defenses are tired. So this number is looking a tad short in my opinion. If you enjoy these videos, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button, because right now, RotoWire is going to give you 15% off of any product on rotowire.com. That includes our fantasy football rankings, our draft kit, and the absolute monster unit tool that my team over at RotoWire instituted for this year, with the fantasy and betting, giving you the best player prop projections, the best against the spread projections, the best of the numbers and the prices across every single book. It's an absolute monster. It's a unit. You guys definitely need to be checking that out. And of course, you're going to get access to our experts for those tough Sunday morning start-sit decisions. Use code YouTube15 at checkout. Moving on down here. How about a little juice latte? My guy JSN, one of my breakout guys, over 4.5 catches against San Francisco. So you're laying 168 with this, and I realize that's steep. You can get 5.5 at around minus 110, 112. But I think in order to make money, you got to lay money. Minus 160 is steep, but I think 4.5 catches for JSN, who had 10 and 5 catches against San Francisco last year, respectively. Obviously, it looks a little different because he's now the wide receiver 1. No more Papa DK, no more Tyler Lockett. This is JSN's team. And ultimately, what I think is going to happen here against San Francisco is Sam Darnold's going to be able to uncork that thing and find JSN. I'm expecting a good amount of targets. Still got Cooper Kupp there. Familiarity with San Francisco. I think he's going to be able to take enough of the attention away. Now, fair point, the 49ers defense allowed the 4th fewest receptions to wide receivers last year, but I just think JSN, his ability to get open, his ability to high point the football, make all the tough catches over the middle of the field, Sam Darnold's going to lock in on him. He wants to find his new version of Justin Jefferson, if you will. So I think the over 4.5 catches there is a solid look. Had to include one under here. Let's go Kyren Williams, under 70.5 rush yards against Houston. So Houston's defense allowed the 11th fewest rush yards last year. 70.5. Kyren's efficiency is still a bit of an issue. His 4.1 yard per carry last year, which isn't terrible, but he had a handful of games where he was sub 4. Opening night here against Houston in this tough defense, Matthew Stafford's good to go. So maybe they go with a little bit more of a conservative approach, run the football early just to keep him upright, and Kyren gets his touches. But knowing how aggressive and fast Houston's defense plays, I think this is probably a scenario where I see them bottling him up. Not too many big runs. At least that's what it looks like on paper to me. And also you got Tay Adams, you got Puka. I feel like eventually at some point in this game, the Rams might operate a little bit more with a pass-heavy look to try and get those weapons on the outside, some space and some running room there. So I think Kyren Williams under 70.5 rush yards is definitely something that I'd be looking at. You're going to get at least a few of these notable backs, these bell cows, go under here. Not everybody's going to hit an over, and I think Kyren Williams is a fair look to stay under that 71-yard mark.